Now we're joined by Kay Stevens, and you count Phil at almost 60 years, and Kay is 47. Between about 45 and Bill, you have about 27, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of the years of longevity, we've been really blessed with institutional knowledge here. There's what has gone on in Altoona and Blair County. Kay, talk about your early days here, arriving at the Mirror in the summer of 1977. One of your first assignments was the Johnstown flood.
That's right. It was an interesting summer because I was here as an intern from Penn State. And basically, we in Altoona were getting word of this big flood over in Johnstown. We didn't really have any idea how bad it was, but we knew that it had flooded. And so one of my fellow reporters was saying, "Hey, that's so close. Why don't we send a staffer over there?" And his name was Tom Gibb. He was telling the city editor, "Hey, let's we ought to cover that if it's a major flood because they've had major floods."
Right.
So anyway, the city editor said, well, sure, you go on over. And Tom at that time said, well, how about if I take the intern with me?
That was your first date.
Essentially, I guess it was.
So I knew Tom Gibb.
Yeah, of course, we all love Tom Gibb, especially Kay had a wonderful relationship
with him.
And, he died too young. I mean, there have been people who've left us too soon, but he's really at the top of the list and such a great journalist that we all were great friends with and learned a lot from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was probably one of my first page one stories for the Altoona Mirror was the Johnstown flood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was very good. I arrived at the Mirror about 3 years after they celebrated their 100th anniversary. Yeah. So I want to say that I'm really...
I was here for that, yeah.
Phil was here for that.
1974.
Right, and I'm pleased to be part of the 150th.
Yeah.
I think it's just great,
I think it is, yeah, to have an organization 150 years old.
Oh,
and you were part of it for
the last 47 years.
Dan Slepp is our publisher. He's a fifth generation from the founder. And I joke with him. I said, when your ancestors sat down in 1874, you think they said, do you think we can get 150 years out of this business? And here they are. I mean, it's just a real credit to the family and there've been ownership succession and a lot, but I give a lot of credit to the community. The community has embraced the Altoona Mirror for that long.
Particularly our subscribers, the faithful ones. My goodness, I mean, I always think of my readers whenever I'm writing my stories. That's the one thing that hasn't changed with reporting. From the very beginning, it's always think of your readers. What do your readers want to know? What do you want to tell them? And by golly, all these years later, I still think of the readers whenever I am writing my story.
Well, that's who we really need to be committed to. Even though you develop relationships with the newsmakers, Kay's just here from the courthouse, covers county government. Phil covers now the federal court. He's been retired about full-time, I think, 8 or 9 years.
8 years, yeah.
Yeah, but he still comes in daily. And that's what kind of the draw of the newspaper business. You can sort of retire full-time, but still play, still write, still practice your craft. And of course, Bill covers City Hall, but to be committed to the readers, even though you're working with the mayor and you're working with judges, the readers are the people that we have to be committed to.
One of the things that attracted me to the Mirror when I first came here, our press was in a building with big windows.
Right.
And the people would gather outside waiting for watching the press and waiting for the paper to come off the press. That impressed me. I mean, a large group of people every afternoon would stand out there and wait.
And then they would buy one.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
And this is
definitely.
at
They could hardly wait.
12:45 p.m.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because that was an afternoon paper.
I used to, whenever I used to do the graduation section,
Yeah.
when I would organize and edit the graduation section, one of the nicest compliments was to watch the people out in the parking lot paging through the pages of the newspaper.
They're
'Cause
reading my article.
they wanted to see their students, their children, their grandchildren, and that's what a community newspaper is all about.
One thing that seems different now, when I started as working for the mayor, you could pretty much assume that if you were at a meeting, that all the people who were participants in the meeting had read that day's paper. And that's not really true anymore. I don't feel it's true.
You're correct, Bill. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, it's obviously been a challenge with the younger generation. And,
Oh yes.
and most of these boards and officials are younger than we are. So, like, for example, in sports, their parents may not be getting the paper, but their grandparents are in a lot of cases because it's a demographic challenge for the industry. But still, if you go to the Mishler Theater for a big play, we have a very high subscriber rate among the arts community, which is supported by a lot of older people.
Well, the younger people are into social media, and that's where they get their news.
But I'll tell you, I think that some of those people posting on social media are stealing their stuff, their postings from the Altoona Mirror. They're taking our news.
Hey, look at the radio station.
Exactly.
They read the story. They give us credit. They read the story.
Mm-hmm.
And we give them credit for giving us credit because there's some that don't. They, all of the electronic media over the years. I mean, they have staffs and they're trying to get stories too, and they're reporting a story that is of significance that for whatever reason we haven't been able to get it.
Mm-hmm.
We give them credit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But we've had our challenges too. We've downsized. We don't have the amount of reporters we used to. That's made a difference in our coverage. That's made a difference in the amount of things we can cover. But we're still hard at it.
It limits the number of reporters that are on beats. They're doing different things. Don't have the opportunity to build up sources like I think did in the past.
One thing that, it's pretty common. It's in the news about the news all the time now, but a lot of people have made the case that without the kind of coverage we used to be able to do, there's not as much of a bar against corruption in government.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true. And I think part of it is not necessarily that the coverage has to be investigative coverage, but just being there.
Yeah.
If you are there every time an organization, a governmental organization, has a meeting, the expectation is that you're going to be on the up and up all the time.
That's what we got.
And there's a kind of a disappointment you would feel as a reporter if somebody you cover and got to know does something underhanded, and I think they sense that, and I think that helps keep corruption at bay.
And so we're the fourth estate, but we're doing as well as we can with the staff we have. We do cover all our school districts and whatnot, and here we are. You guys are at city, county, and federal government pretty often, and we're still publishing 6 days a week. Unlike most newspapers, so we feel good about that, and to be at 150 years. Favorite memories, Kay?
Some of the favorite memories come from emotions. Finishing a good story, finishing a story that I'm proud of, that I feel like I've touched all bases, I've covered all sides, I've given the reader something that to educate them. That feeling, I can't duplicate that. That's my good feeling from my work. Yeah.
And Kay was just honored with an award for the Wise Women of Blair County, and that was really great to see that recognition. It was definitely deserved.
Thank you.
So, Phil, as you approach 60 years, who were some of the people early on that you looked up to, not just locally, but like nationally, of people that you thought were good reporters, either they're on TV or in print?
Well, I got to interview Walter Cronkite one day, and I loved him.
Where did you interview him? Here?
Down in the State College. This was like the Russian nuclear reactors malfunctioned or whatever, and for some reason he was down there, and I interviewed him about that and about the space program I think he was involved in. But I, like the Mirror used to have what do you call it, a correspondent, Tom Teague, and he wrote these fantastic stories. He'd write a story. It was about individuals. He'd do a story and through individuals. And the Mirror had this. Mirror ran his column. I used to read him all the time, and he was particularly great in Vietnam. He would interview the soldiers one-on-one, and you get that individual flair.
When I first came to the Mirror, we're in a beautiful building out here on the boulevard. We were downtown. We were downtown Anchor. And back then, because people come in now and they say, wow, is it quiet in here?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Newsrooms have become a lot more quiet, not just with fewer people, but it used to be that there was a photo machine, a wire machine. The teletype would be humming. There would be just a lot of noise. The newsroom itself was kind of smaller. You'd hear different people kind of hollering back and forth. It was a lot louder.
The typewriters,
the hum of the typewriters, electric and manual. Yeah, we had both.
The guys working the telephone, they worked the telephone. These old reporters like Phil Fair.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you ever met.
I heard of him.
Yeah. Phil Fair and Jimmy Brantlinger and Jerry Mays. He'd scream over the telephone, But it was
Jim Schaefer was pretty loud himself, right?
Well,
no, he was a legend in the newsroom.
He used to beat a rhythm on the desk.
Well, that's loud. He was a combination reporter and photographer.
Yes, right? Yes. He was the first guy that I met when I came to the Altoona Mirror. I walked in the door and he said, well, I'll take you around. We went out to the Mirror car. Yeah. It was something out of the 1930s. All they needed was machine guns on the car, the front of the car.
Well, the Mirror also had a fleet of Mavericks that reporters would take to games, to meetings. Remember, you'd have to sign them out.
Oh yeah, those old cars, I'll tell you. But he took me around. He just took me around. And he showed me all the redevelopment projects and things that were going on in Altoona, and it was pretty impressive. But yeah, he was the first guy I met, and he took me around. And I think in the Mirror, you had to get a doctor's appointment or something. He took me to the doctor.
Did you do a physical?
Yeah, he had a physical. Yeah, like
I think they did require a physical at the time of employment or something of that sort.
Yeah, so that's what he did.
Hey, we didn't have to do drug tests, just a physical.
He was volatile. I mean, he could get angry at times, but he was a great guy.
Well, the Mirror, like I said, it was laid out differently. When you came, there probably wasn't a lot of photography on page one, right? I mean, there was.
Oh yeah,
there was.
There were no bylines. It was all gray. I mean,
the display now. We talk about. We usually run about 4 stories on page one, plus a kind of a dominant piece of art. Most newspapers, that's how they function. Back in the 60s and even the 70s, and really, you remember, we didn't have sports and local news on section fronts. You had to sort your way through them. Even the obits didn't have a consistent place. And that was one of the things that probably the younger journalists helped to push, a little bit more organization to the paper.
Layout has changed dramatically. Yeah.
It's probably easier to do it on a computer, right? Than it would have been in the old days.
It was different.
It takes more people. It's because in those days, whenever they just basically let the composing room put the paper together. Now we have people running computers who say this story goes here. They write the headline. That's one thing that people have come to accept, that the reporters aren't writing the headline, and but at the same time, the copy editor is putting a headline on there and selecting where the story is going to go on the page.
And you're vulnerable as a reporter because you write a story, and we do say you're welcome to put a suggested headline because you know what the story says, and it's very difficult to condense a story into 7 or 8 words for a headline. So that takes a skill in itself.
Yeah,
I never wrote headlines.
No, well, you were too busy writing stories.
Yeah.
Kay, that was nice what she said at the very beginning about 150 years to be part of that. What's it mean to everybody?
Where are we going in the future with artificial intelligence? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, right.
I haven't been able to find anybody that has any solid ideas about what's going to happen in the future.
I still think you need people to be able to go and interpret and report.
Oh, you still need a reporter. You still need.
I don't think you can turn all that over.
How would artificial intelligence tell what went on in a meeting?
Well, one thing artificial intelligence is starting to do is to try to go to a meeting and take council approved this ordinance. Now, you and I both know that's just the beginning of a story. Is it an ordinance that you want to write about? Is it an ordinance that has effect on the people who live in Altoona? That's our job, and that's what we do, and that's what we do well. Artificial intelligence isn't going to.
But like they said, Sports Illustrated had some articles written by artificial intelligence. And so I stopped getting Sports Illustrated.
Good for you.
I don't foresee the day when artificial intelligence writes the Altoona Mirror, but I don't know.
But how is it going to affect the electronics, the social media? What's going to happen?
It may be something that you go to a meeting and everything is recorded. Everything that's said is recorded, and you don't have to necessarily deal with the transcription if they can get that right of who said what.
I guess that's possible.
Maybe that could be presented to the community without a reporter. This is what was said last night, and it's left for the community to sort of disseminate it.
But even
what's important.
If you had the recording of a meeting,
God bless you.
And no, AI, I guess, probably could sort it out or sort it through it and produce something that would be, at least based on what I understand, at least passable as a reporter.
I just hate to see that happen.
Sure.
Make us redundant.
It would be like electronic umpires in baseball.
Yeah. Although some people think that'd be an upgrade.
Well, in tennis, it's a good thing.
Right.
People still have to do something.
Well, you just sit at home and collect your paycheck.
Right.
Well, Phil Ray, thank you. Phil Ray, Kay Stevens, Bill Kibler. This has been fun. Maybe we'll do some form of it again. Dan Eisenberg, who's our man behind the camera. Appreciate Dan and what he's brought and the elements that he's adding to our 150th edition here at the Mirror. We're real proud of it, proud to be part of it, and look forward to the future.